All right, good evening. We're going to go ahead and call to order tonight's public hearing for our final millage. If you could rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, we have no regular public input, so we are going to go ahead and start on 3.01. So, Mr. Ward, Superintendent, Mr. Ward.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, we just want to give a real brief overview of the final millage and budget before or during the public hearing.
Mr. Ward, can you speak into your microphone, please? Thank you, sir.
The first slide shows the final millage rates by the different types of levies that we have. The required local effort, the discretionary local effort, and the capital outlay, and versus the rollback millage rates of each kind and the differences in the percentages. Below that, you'll see the actual budgeted revenue based on each millage levy and the school taxable value and the differences. Per the truth in millage process, we are required to compare the final millage rate to the rollback rate. Our final tax rate exceeds the rollback rate by 2.62%, and our budgeted final millage revenue exceeds our rollback millage revenue by $3.6 million. The final millage rates are the same as the adopted and advertised tentative millage rates. Because our final millage rates are more than our rollback rates, we have to advertise a tax increase. Per Florida statute 200.065, we have to discuss the specific purposes for which ad valorem tax revenues are increasing. Per Florida statute, the district shall levy a required local effort as certified by commissioner in order to participate in the Florida Education Finance Program. We are adjusting our required local effort rate to the rate calculated by the Florida Department of Education. Per Florida statute, each district may levy a non-voted current operational discretionary millage. The discretionary millage is capped at .7480 mils and is included as part of the discretionary millage compression supplement and the virtual education supplement. It is necessary to keep our millage rate at the .7480 cap in order to maintain the general operation of the district. In addition to the operating levies, the district is allowed to levy up to 1.5 mils for capital outlay purposes. It is necessary for the district to keep the capital outlay millage at the 1.5 cap in order to maintain its facilities, purchase buses, and service outstanding debt. The final budget is for a total of $615 million. The final budget changed from the tentative budget. The material changes are a result of an increase in Medicare revenue, the capital outlay and debt service year-end entries, and the inclusion of the capital project based on the 5-year plan, which will be approved, or which is up for approval later this evening, and an adjustment for additional health care insurance claims. And Madam Chair, that concludes the brief presentation of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Superintendent, please read the statement required on the millage for the record.
First important issue to be discussed is the rollback rate. The rollback rate is defined as the millage rate necessary to generate the same amount of money that was raised the prior school year, but using the new property values after adjusting for new construction. The total millage to be levied is more than the rollback rate by 2.62%. The required local effort, RLE, millage rate to be levied is more than the rollback rate by 0.56%.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning this increase? Superintendent?
I recommend that the board adopt Resolution 2018-04, determining tentative millages to be levied for the fiscal year 2018-19. Included are required local effort, including prior period funding adjustment millage of 4.107 mils, basic discretionary of 0.748 mils, and capital outlay millage of 1.5 mils, for a total of 6.355 mils. The revenues generated by this levy total General operating, $108,140,558. Capital outlay, $33,411,089, for a total of $141,551,647.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve Resolution 2018-04, determining final millages to be levied for the fiscal year 2018-19 as supported by FLDOE Form ESE 524?
So moved.
Is there any discussion from you? This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the millages? Okay, you want to come up to the microphone?
Right there, sir. Sorry.
Oh, right here, yes, sir. Thank you.
I hope you can hear me better than I could hear you. I don't know whether this is the right place for me to talk or not, but I'm against paying taxes to the school board. If I'm not at the right place at the right time, I'll go back and sit down. No? Okay. We moved down the villages here 2 years ago. We're 80 years old. We've done our dues with our children, grandchildren, college, what have you. Is there any schools, and how many schools are in the villages?
How many schools are in the villages, he asked? Somebody want to answer that?
Yeah, there,
I was thinking.
in Lake County, there's one.
In the villages. We live in the villages of Pine Hills. So I think that if there's 4 schools, then there's full schools. My point is that the school board will always need more money, more than the villages can pay. I don't know where the state comes in on that, but we're paying $1,500 in taxes to the school board that we don't even work with. We don't use it. We get no benefits from it. It's fine for those who are involved, but how about the people who are outside the board of the school system? So I'm opposed to paying school board taxes.
So your house must be worth a lot of money if you're paying that much directly to the school board.
I know what we pay to the school board, but I think we should not pay anything because we're not involved.
Okay.
We don't ask for anything. We don't give anything back. Well, we are on taxes. And so in the last 2 years, it's $3,000 that we didn't expect to pay when we came down here.
I'm going to go ahead and ask. There are public comment cards that are in the back on both sides, and we
Okay.
would love to, well, we would love to get your information so that we
Sure.
can communicate. I do think that it would be worth a conversation. When you're finished filling that out, I think it was Bruce. I think I saw your name tag. Will you come bring it up here to Natalie when you're finished with it? She's on the end down here, and she'll take your information. Thank you, Sherry.
Dr. Tibbetts,
Dr. Tibbetts, you're welcome.
where's the call?
I'd like to just respond to the last speaker. I live in a place even more aged than the villages. Average age, 82.5 years in my community. Unlike the gentleman that just spoke, though, I'm so appreciative that monies get paid to the school board to provide for our employees in our community, the nurses that take care of us, the doctors that take care of us, that are trained in our schools. I also realize that when my daughter was being raised, everybody in our communities shared in her education. Just because you get older doesn't mean you aren't benefiting by the schools, nor should you abdicate your responsibility to pay back for those that paid for children and grandchildren that you might have had. So please understand that just because you're old doesn't mean that we aren't supportive of you and what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbetts. We have a motion and a second, so all of those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Superintendent?
I recommend that the board approve Resolution 2018-05, adopting the final budget for the 2018-19 fiscal year in the amount of $615,050,899 as supported by FLDOE Form ESC 139-District Summary Budget.
May I have a motion on the
So
superintendent?
moved.
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion by the board?
The last go-around, for those of you that tuned in, I had brought forth a few questions and a lot of different elements of praise for the budget. Those that may not have had the benefit of tuning into the workshop, I think we've seen resolution to those questions, most notably some of the, but just out of transparency purposes, I should probably mention them here since I brought them up in our last hearing. And one was the decrease in school budgets. And we see that that's largely driven due to a reduction in substitutes because, of course, with fewer teachers, you would need fewer substitutes. And one of the other items I brought forth was the increased enrichment offerings that we have so many new programs getting off the ground. So with that, I'd like to throw a big thanks out to the Ed Foundation for stepping up and helping us with some funding to generously support the new music programs. And then my other big question that came up was about the department budgets and how that process came to be. And I'm delighted to see so many budgets had done a voluntary reduction, which we know, my time up?
Sorry, sir.
All those, oh, I'm totally kidding. Go ahead.
We know that fewer dollars spent into varies means more dollars back in the classrooms. So kudos to this administration for continuing to push forth the right priorities, and particularly big challenge of compensation. Boy, when we see that the base student allocation increased just 47 cents a student, and yet we're still able to offer handsome compensation packages to both instructional staff as well as classified workers. That shows you that a true shift in priority. So well done on this budget. I'm just so thrilled to be able to offer support to it tonight.
And Mr. Ward, I would like to thank you. I know that you did a lot of work on the documents. I specifically liked the components where you compared us to other districts that were our size. So we really started to have a conversation about how many dollars are going back into the classroom, how much we're spending on administrators, how much we're spending on teachers, how much we're spending on instructional materials. So I really enjoyed that part of the budget that you added for transparency purposes. So
Yeah, I also like huge praise for the section of the budget that was a breakdown for more for lay people. I think we've been asking for that for what, 6 years?
is your microphone on, Dr. Burns? I see him coming.
I was saying, a huge thank you for the portion of the budget or the section that he created that is more for lay people. I feel like the board has been asking for that sort of a thing for the public for about 6 years, and we finally got it, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Definitely.
Well, Madam Chair and board members, I appreciate the compliments, and I could not do it on my own. I had a wonderful staff that helped me, so
Thank you. You got to talk into your microphone or I'm going to get in trouble.
I apologize.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the tentative budget? Okay, seeing no one, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you very much, Superintendent.
This concludes the required action for the final public hearing on the 2018-19 final millage rates and budget for Lake County Schools. All required documents will be transmitted to the Florida Department of Education, the Florida Department of Revenue, and the Lake County Tax Collector's Office as required.
Board members, I have board member comments, superintendent comments, attorney comments. Can we waylay those till after the next meeting? Anybody in opposition to that? Great. Meeting adjourned. I'm so